On behalf of the DragonCon Dark Fantasy and Horror Track and Netherworld Haunted House, I'd like to welcome you all to our first True Blood panel for DragonCon 2012. We have got four of the best actors and actresses here on the show. Thank you. Awesome. First, he's had roles on television. First, he's an award-winning playwright. He's gone from the Marines to Juilliard. As an actor, he's had roles in Secretariat and The Help. His character can talk to the dead, but he won't do it for free anymore. Nelson Ellis. How are you? Next, you've seen her on Lost, Person of Interest, and The Good Wife. She's been in films such as Doubt and My Best Friend's Wedding. She plays one of the few waitresses who actually shows up for work anymore. Carrie Preston. He's had roles on television shows such as House, Bones, CSI, and Dexter. He's a Tony-nominated stage actor. He currently plays a shapeshifter who can literally make heads explode. It's Sam Travis. He played Flash Thompson in Spider-Man. He's been on ER, How I Met Your Mother, and recently he played Big Dick Richie. Now he's the leader of the pack, Joe Manganiello. So, all three of you have been here before. Carrie, this is your first time. What brings you out here?
This is my first convention at all, y'all. So I came because this is my home state. I figured I'd, lose my convention virginity in my home state.
Carrie Preston, after the finale, you tweeted one word. Billeth.
I tweeted Billeth. I don't know. I was watching it with my family, and when it was over, I just turned to them and I was like, oh my God, he's Billeth. And I didn't know if anybody on the show had already come up with that or not, because I'm not on any of those scenes. I'm never, involved with any of the. I'm on a show about a bar, and everybody else is on some show about vampires and shapeshifters. So Billeth, and then it went crazy. And then people got really angry at me on the West Coast because they were like, spoiler.
You should never go on Twitter if you're worried about spoilers.
I know.
Yeah, really. What is your all's reaction to that particular plot twist, Billeth? Just as people who work on the show, as people who watch the show?
I kind of thought it was awesome. I mean, just because it was so. I always like to be surprised, and it's so hard to keep. I mean, the writers have a lot of difficulty, having to continually surprise us. And I don't know, just as reading it, I just thought, wow, I did not see that coming. So I was, happy.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And then the way they handled it too. I was watching with my family, and they all looked at me like, "Oh my God, he's dead. He's dead." Like the suspension was just so, awesome. And then suddenly he rises up out of it. You should have seen Steven walking around on set with that.
Yeah, he and I both had to have just complete
naked,
toe-to-head blood, gore. It was a lot to get on and get off for sure. Yeah. disgusting.
Nelson, what did you think of that Billith plot twist?
I liked it.
Do you actually get to see it coming? Do you see these in the scripts beforehand, or you just get your parts and your parts only?
Well, I read my parts and my parts only. But no, we get it beforehand in the script.
And Joe, what was your reaction?
Well, I love it when characters start somewhere and then wind up somewhere completely opposite. You know, I think a good example of that is, you know, Jason's arc. You know, how he hated vampires in season 1 and then winds up falling in love with one. And I think this was another one of those like kind of crazy opposite end arcs. You know, Bill's the one he's the human vampire. He's the one who can fall in love and still has that flame inside of him. And now he's completely devoid of that. And it's now going to be this, you know, let's farm human beings, let's lead the war kind of villain, which I think is a great arc, and I think it's going to, you know, be really exciting for season 6.
If you all want to line up in between the aisles, we'll be taking questions from the audience pretty soon. There will be people with microphones to help you out. And speaking of character arcs, Alcide, we've gotten a lot of backstory on Alcide this season. He's gone through some changes. What do you think about all that?
It's about time he kicked some ass. And it's about time he got laid. Without it being awkward. So, yeah, you know, the wolf got to come out this year, which I think puts him in a nice spot, and especially with the big vampire war coming up, it puts him in a very interesting position, you know. But yeah, I've been bugging all the writers this past year, like, you know, what's like the day-to-day for a pack master? Like, what do? You wake up and you what? And then you do what, you know? So we're figuring all of that out now, I guess.
In real life, would you classify yourself as a lone wolf or a leader of the pack?
I'm not a pack animal in real life at all, you know. Yeah, no, I definitely, I march to the beat of my own drum, you know. I don't think I've ever been swayed by groups or opinions or things like that. I just do my own thing, and I say what I think, and I'm not afraid to do it. So, I mean, that's the kind of guy I am.
Nelson, Lafayette has been through quite a number of changes since the last time you were here at Dragon Con. What do you think of the various character arcs, the fact that he killed his lover?
I didn't like that, actually. I was like, why do I have to do it? Kill my boyfriend. It was sad. Well, I'm glad Lafayette finally is having fun again. Because he was going through some shit. I mean, there's no kids in the house. He was going through some things. So I'm glad he's back to a place where you see the old Lafayette sort of peeking out again and having some fun and doing his old things like selling some stuff.
Cajun margarita.
One of the most interesting scenes, I think, on the show ever happened in Merlot's bar not too long ago. Fairy giving birth to 4 children. What was filming that scene like?
That was a long day. It was so, it was amazing to watch her on that pool table. And she's a ballerina, so she's flexible. But all day long to be doing that, and then, you know, doing that high-pitched squeal, and then us, like, you know, the peanut gallery back there with our
Watching her legs.
and just watching it. We couldn't help laughing, you know, quite a bit. And then my favorite moment of that scene was, you know, we were rehearsing without the babies for a long time because you can only use newborn babies for a very short amount of time when you're on a set. And so when they finally brought those adorable little babies in and they sat them down, and Chris Bauer, who plays Andy Belfleur, you know, picked one of them up and went like, smile like this, and it was just so adorable. And we all just, we all loved it. And they were like, "Oh, you have to keep it. You have to keep it." So they had a whole shot of him like holding the baby.
Hey, weren't there? For some reason, I remember like 10 babies. Did they cut the babies
They
down?
did, yeah. I think in the original script there were more.
Yeah, there were more, right? I remember there were like 15 or 10 babies originally. Maybe they just couldn't get that many babies.
Yeah, I probably. It's a lot of babies.
And Sam, in real life, you have twins. What advice would you give Andy Belfleur raising multiple children?
He has two boys.
What advice would I give Andy Belfleur raising kids? Oh my God. We know Chris Bauer has 2 kids. He's got a boy and a girl. So he actually gives me advice on what to do. Yeah, Andy Belfleur. I think he'd be a sweet dad. I think Andy Belfleur would be kind of a sweet dad. I don't know.
He's probably going to need Holly's help.
Yeah, he may need your help too. You never know.
Yeah, well, I know something about babies.
Of course, the big news this season, Alan Ball leaving the show. Do you have any special memories that you could share with us of working with Alan?
So many.
Too many to choose from?
Well, I was supposed to die in the books, and Alan Ball made a choice to keep me on the show, and it's hilarious how he told me it was the table read of the last episode in the first season, and of course my contract was up at that point, and I was supposed to die and move on. But he came up to me after the table reading. He just goes, as he's leaving out to go to his office, he goes, "Oh, Elson, you know you're not dying, right?" And I said, "No, but thanks for telling me." So that's one special memory of him. I have a job still.
No, but I remember. Do you remember you always were like, "I'm gonna die." I'm like, "No, you're not, man. You're not gonna die." And this was only halfway through the first season. And they knew really early they weren't gonna kill you.
Oh, but nobody
They
told
just-
me.
But nobody told you. But I
And
mean,
you know,
I just figured you assumed that because.
No, my contract.
I mean, it was crazy, you guys. The first season, I remember we were on this different lot, and you sit in a room and read through the script, and now there's like 40 actors at the table because our cast is so huge. But then I remember it was just like 6 or 7 of us, and Nelson would just go off and say these things that weren't in the script that were so great, like hooker, and he just had all this lingo. And there was no way he was gonna get killed. There was no way. And I remember you were like, "Well, Sam, I don't know. They're gonna, I'm gonna die." I'm like, "Dude, you're not gonna die. There's no way." Just go back and forth.
I understand you did an imitation of me.
Where?
It was at
No, Alan does you at the table reads when you're not there.
Alan Ball.
Oh yeah, Alan Ball.
He does a really good Lafayette.
Funny.
Yeah, those are probably my favorite Alan memories.
Really?
Seeing Alan say hookah at a table.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That was actually one of the things that Alan Ball talked about. I don't know if you heard it. He was on NPR the day of the season finale. And he said he really doesn't like it when actors improvise, but with you, he made an exception.
Well, I mean,
Shit.
do what? Hooker? Well, I early on, but the more seasons went on, the less they started letting me ad lib. But early on, they let me do it a lot. Last season, not so much. Not too much. Not too much. I know, right?
Tell me about filming the scene where your lips get sewn together. That was just gruesome.
Gross.
That shit was so ridiculous. Because I had that prosthetic on for 6 hours without lunch. Then And then I started trying to like talk to the director in sign language. It was like, it was just, and then you have to stop, you have to write something down. Just, it was bad. And then I was sweating up under it, and I had to spit, and then swallowing was difficult. I'm sorry, this is gross, right? It was, yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
And Joe, you said that you may have filmed the first sex scene in history that needed Hong Kong wires. What did you mean by that?
When werewolves have sex, it gets rough. And they had to hook her up to some wires because she got tossed. And they tried to hook those wires up to me, but because of the angles, they couldn't figure out a way to CGI the wires out, so we just had to drill some reinforcement. To the end of the bed. And I just did the old Superman off the end of it. It's probably the only sex scene in history where someone launches through the air and they land pelvis to pelvis too. We talked about that. A lot of firsts.
You also had some scenes, you weren't actually in there, but there was a teenage version of you. Did you work with that actor much, helping him get into character?
No, but he owes me 10% because I got him his job. And I'll tell you how. They were looking for young Al Seed, and I was in my manager's office one day, and I said, you know, they're looking for this young Al Seed, blah, blah, blah. And my manager's assistant, Garrett, was like, oh, wait a second. And he looks, starts typing, and I guess that kid is from Georgia, or Atlanta, I think. Or he was on a series out here or something, and Atlanta related. And he sends, comes, come behind the computer, and I look at this kid's picture, and I'm like, that's great. That kid looks way cooler than I did at age 14. Let's get him, because they were asking me for pictures of age 14, and all my 14-year-old pictures are like Coke bottle, glasses, ears stuck out, horrible haircut. I'm like, my pictures at 14 are not going to help them cast at all. And so I saw this kid, and I'm like, great, he looks really cool. Let's go with that. And so I shot it over to our producer, Greg Feinberg, and sure enough, who was at the table reading this kid. And I'm like, you owe me money.
All right, let's take some questions from the audience. We'll start over here on...
Hi, thank you so much for coming. My question is, what was it like working with Stephen Boyer as a director this season?
Awesome. He was great. I'm a director too, but what he was able to do, with, I guess what he was saying, a very short amount of time with the actual script. I think he got the first, draft of the script like the night before he was supposed to go in and start having meetings about it. And he was so confident and so excited and very specific about what he wanted from us and the crew, and it was just a really wonderful vibe. And none of us had or at least in the scenes that I was in, none of us seemed to even think about him as Bill or as the actor who played Bill. We were just thinking of him as the director because he just had such a strong handle on things. I was very, very impressed by him.
Yeah, he was he was so prepared, and he wasn't stressing out, like he had already done all of his work. And
Because we're on fire, y'all.
That'd be
I thought
awesome.
that was the police at first.
I did too.
The police.
now, son, you gotta get
We're
out of
under
here.
arrest.
Yeah, and no, I was just saying he was. I'm not gonna answer that question.
It's Phyllis.
Hey.
Somebody pulled the fire alarm.
No.
life-saving device has been activated.
What is going on right now?
Okay, so this is a building-wide problem apparently, and we can't do anything about it. Somebody just did something. Okay, it's close.
What do they say?
So this is what DragonCon is like, Carrie.
It's like a sad disco ball.
Everybody leaving.
And Erica, do you have a question over there?
Okay, this is for anyone in the panel if there who'd like to answer, but if you had the freedom to choose whatever your character could do on the show in a future plotline, what would you pick?
You never know. I've been asked that before, and you know, for me, the writers always come up with so much better stuff than I could imagine. I wrote this when I first got the job. I wrote this really long biography of Sam and like what I thought should happen, and I gave it to Alan Ball, and I don't know if he read it. I don't think he read it. And he did. They definitely never. And I'm so glad they didn't, because what they came up with was so much better. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think Arlene should mix it up with the vampires a little more. I'd like to see that. Yeah, I mean, she could go. I mean, I think it would be cool. You know, her maternal instincts and the power of being a woman, a strong woman. You know, standing up to like somebody like Pam would be very interesting. Yeah, it would be fun. I mean, I don't know. I think it's important to have Arlene and Terry and Andy and the characters that are not supernatural, just because then it gives all the other characters context. That's the world they live in, is a world where they're trying to mainstream into humanity. And so I like it that Arlene and Terry in particular are kind of hold down that fort. But this year we had that Ifrit. We called it the Pomfret, which was kind of odd, but it was fun and interesting. But I think it would be really cool to get Arlene and Terry involved with either fighting the vampires or certainly Terry. It would be really cool, I think.
I think Lafayette should have been the one sleeping with Pam. I would love if Lafayette had a little fling with Pam. Alas.
We're gonna have to fight Terry for that.
I know, right? I think Alcide and Sookie should move in together. And then because he's dating his sister, Alcide and Jason should get together and just go on a vampire killing spree. That's what I
So I take it you're not pro-vampire. Sheila?
I would like to see what is the funniest thing that's ever happened on set for everybody.
The funniest thing?
Funniest thing that what?
That's happened on set.
Well, for me, this last season, I had that very short moment. I think it was in episode 5 where Arlene comes in screaming at Andy because his phone's going off and he's laying there naked. And I turn around, and say, Andy, cheese and crackers, put some clothes on. Well, we did this thing where we were doing like an Austin Powers thing. So I was having to look at a monitor in front of, he was behind me, but I was looking at a monitor in front of me, trying to put my hand in front of his private part. And we just could not stop laughing because there he is, God bless him, he is looking awesome, but he's laying there and I'm trying to like not look, but I have to look in order to not look. And we just, it was truly one of the most hilarious moments that we've ever had on set because, it was awkward, but it was, the end, product was pretty hilarious, I thought, so. I had to look in order to not to like.
Second season, Anna and I, we come up and there's a meat tree. You remember the meat tree?
Oh, the meat tree.
So there's a meat tree and then there's a portly man in the nude dancing around the meat tree. And we could not shoot the scene because every time we walked up to see this man dancing around the meat tree, butt ass naked. And he fell one time. And it was over. We just couldn't. Anna, every time she walked up, she just like, and I was falling, I was crying tears. It was hilarious. Nothing has topped the meat tree and the dancing meat.
Yeah, I don't know how funny it was, but during season 3 at Blue Pines, the werewolf bar, there were all of these actual bikers there and in the crowd. They were all the extras. And they were just talking, you'd hear bits and pieces of these really hardcore conversations that they were having. And the scene that we were filming was the one where Debbie is initiated into the pack. And Anna and I were standing there when she was wearing her hooky-sooky outfit. And we hear this biker goes to start laughing. He's like, and I go, what's so funny, man? He goes, that's not how an initiation would go. And I went, all right. I mean, mind you, like, the guy had like a Gandalf beard down to his waist. And I was like, all right, Gandalf, dude, like, I'll bite. Like, what would an initiation be like? He's like, well, we'd get her up on that stage and then we'd all take turns on her. I looked at Anna and Anna was just held on to my arm. Those guys are for real. Real life werewolves.
That's ridiculous. There was sort of a funny thing that happened this year, where there was the scene where Steve Newland, where Luna and I go in and we turn into mice and hide in his briefcase, and then Steve Newland comes in and we've turned into mice. Well, in order to do that, we had to, Janita and I were naked, and which I did like 3 episodes in a row naked. I didn't have any fittings. It was ridiculous. So ridiculous.
You're probably ahead of everyone in Naked Screen Time right now.
I think this year I had to.
Yeah,
because I didn't even have a fitting, for a couple of episodes.
Somebody needs to do the pie chart or something.
I know, like figuring out exactly how many scenes.
Yeah, how many?
But we had to turn into mice and then sort of get out of the way because they were coming in and it was the same shot. So Simon, our cameraman, was on us, and then we had to kind of duck down and then get out of the way for Steve Newland to come in. Well, it was really awkward, and I had to crawl away naked. So when Michael McMillian, who plays Steve Newland, walked in, there was a camera right there that he had to ignore, and then there was a naked guy, like slowly on all fours, slowly crawling away to get out of his way so they could do the scene. And I fully enjoyed that. Distracting.
That set that you were on for those episodes, the Vampire Authority, it looks so huge and elaborate on TV. What is the real set like?
It was. There were a lot of different rooms, and there was this pool that they made,
It was like a moat.
A moat of water that that was real, and it was pretty elaborate.
And I think somebody said that a couple people
Oh yeah, somebody every day somebody fell on it. Like there was one person every day that walked into that.
Erica.
Hi. I was just wondering, what's one question that every time you hear, like, you just really get tired of answering it?
That's such a good question. For me, it's what would you want to turn into if you could turn into something? And I was like, I don't know, if a fish, a fly, I don't know. I don't really turn into them, so I don't, I don't.
I hate it when people ask me Team Bill or Team Eric, and I just say Team Terry.
Are you gay? No, just say, why are you interested?
I don't really get tired. I mean, it's like people are like, oh man, don't you hate it when those people bother you? And it's like, do I hate it when people come up on the street and say, I love you? Like, I hate it if they were like, you suck, I hate you. But the rest of it's just fun, like growl, bite me, lick me, all that stuff. Come on, as long as we're all having fun here.
Sheila.
Lap dance me.
You should, sell some lap dances.
$30 in the main hall. It's actually a champagne room in back of the main hall. Yes. There's an ATM machine in the lobby. And I ain't putting that damn thong back on, so forget it.
Hi. I know a lot. Nell sounds like, oh, he would want to have an affair with Pam or be with her or whatever. Do y'all ever like slip hints into the writers like, oh, I could do this or I'd be willing to do so and so, and they just kind of maybe you could let me do that, or just like slip it in like, who I'd really love? I'd really love Chris Power, and they're like, oh wow, they all would be really good together.
Wait, so the question is, how do you manipulate the writers into doing what you want? Good luck with that one. Has that worked for anyone?
That doesn't
No.
somehow work.
No, no, not really. I stopped trying to, at the beginning, like Sam was saying, he wrote the thing, at the beginning I, would talk about some ideas I had, but that happened, and then, but no, I think it's better just to trust the writers, because clearly they're doing something right. If the show's been on for 5 years and y'all are still eating it up, so.
Yeah, I think sometimes things are written certain ways, or they had an idea that maybe it was going to go this way. Like, I know that the sex scene in episode 5-8 was written in a way that was like, the two of them are going at it, and you can't tell which one is dominant or not. And I kind of looked at it and went, she weighs like 90 pounds. Like, they can write that, but really, like, let's see her pick me up and throw me. So then you get there and you're like, okay, like I'm gonna throw her into the dresser, I'm throwing her over there, so it's like sometimes in performance you kind of work those things out, so sometimes I've written a certain way, but you're like, okay.
Well, I was adamantly against killing Jesus. And so I went to Alan Ball's office. And this was my first time ever going to his office to be like, I think this should go down like this. And I'm talking, I had thought it out and I had written some stuff down. I'm talking to him. Literally, it looked like he was thinking about lunch. said, okay. And that was just it. Nothing happened. Yeah, it made me feel something. I was against it. I was just completely against killing my boyfriend. I'm sorry, I still am passionate about that.
Erica.
So, you guys mentioned about being naked on the set. There's a lot of nudity. I think everybody except maybe Carrie has been naked.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Let's get Carrie naked.
Right,
Let's get Carrie naked.
do you guys just like run around with a sock on it all day? Especially Sam, like you said, the last 3 episodes. I mean, did you just forget it off the road and say, forget it, I'm just naked all the time anyway?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I mean, it's they give you robes and this and that. And you kind of take a robe. I rarely, sometimes you put the robe on, sometimes just the boxers. What was weird was the cages with the people this year. Those people were really naked. There were no socks. There were no anything, and that was odd. Like being around that many naked people, just hanging out, being naked. Because you feel like if you have a sock on, you still feel somehow dressed a little bit. Like even though you're not. But with no sock, that was weird. That was definitely. But yeah, you sort of just get used to it.
Well, and especially if you're playing characters, I mean, there's a time and place to be naked and vulnerable. But if you're a shapeshifter or a werewolf, these are people who, like, wearing clothes is uncomfortable, and it is against their nature. So I think, when you're getting into that type of character, there's no room to be self-conscious, about it, because the characters wouldn't be. So I think, especially, last year was the true test. I went from True Blood to Magic Mike, back to True Blood, and in True Blood, I'm flying through the air with, stuff. That was a first. Jumping through the air.
That's right, because you did it. And then I did that pig fight, which naked. Somehow I beat up 3 guys naked.
It's like Eastern Promises with pigs.
But that was great. That was insane because I had to start that scene in a pen with real pigs. Those were real pigs. And it was like, okay, we're about to do the scene. So Sam, get in the pen with the pigs, naked. And so I was worried about them biting me. They were 200 pounds. And then B, once the fight started, I was worried about those 3 guys stepping on my feet or kicking me anywhere you could think, and I actually got kicked in the mouth once, but I was just worried about them stepping on my feet, fighting, 3 guys with boots on, when I'm naked. It was pretty intense. Pretty intense. I don't know how I came out ahead on that one, but it somehow.
Sheila?
Each of you this year had some sort of your personal relationship that you had with your character, like Sam with Arlene with Terry, Lafayette with Jesus. You all had a character, you had a problem with your relationship that you had to build back from in some way or another. How did, as a character and as the actor playing the character, did you do that?
Well, on TV shows and movies and stuff, you have to have conflict, and the stakes aren't high, and you don't really want to watch these characters for very long. It would be kind of boring. So I don't know how much more Arlene and Terry can take, but they just keep piling it on us, and they get through it, and with working with Todd, he's so great, and he's so fun and funny, but he's also like really focused, and we kind of had the same way of working. So we just trusted the writers, and we would call each other after each script, you know, hoping that one or the other of us wasn't going to get, you know, taken over by this smoke monster. But we did have this fear, you know, at one point early on that they were actually going to split us up, that the writers were going to split us up. And, you know, we're a little codependent, you know. So, you know, I kind of liked that we got to go to a more serious place this year, because a lot of times, you know, we're just sort of there to serve up the comic, you know, relief. But it was cool this year, especially to see where Terry came from and why he was, you know, had such a hard time in Iraq.
Was that question to all of us, or I couldn't even hear the question actually.
What was it like building the relationship with Luna, for example?
Oh, okay. What was it like just building it? Well, yeah, because it was interesting with us because that season that we started, there was already something. I guess we had already started the relationship, so we talked a little bit about that, like how we met and all that. Because the audience was jumping into that relationship that had already started. But that was intense because she has a kid, and you know, it was great for me, for Sam, because you got to see his side with children, and that he's pretty comfortable with children, and I can't say too much because I just can't spoil things. But I think he's very into the idea of having that, you know, that family, and I love working with Jeannie, and she's great. She's, you know, a great actress, and that's been a blast.
I loved working with Kevin. We had great chemistry. It's funny when we did the chemistry test when he auditioned. It was like we were friends for a while, and I fucking hated it when they killed them off. Because it literally, we had our own TV show. Every scene it was just me and Kevin, me and Kevin, me and Kevin, me and Kevin. Me and Kevin kissing, me and Kevin sitting in the bed, me and Kevin. And we had become good friends. We both got, you know, kid, loved his wife. I'd go to his house a lot. And then they took him from me.
Do you still talk to Kevin?
No.
And Joe, what's it been like for you building this new relationship?
Which one? Got around a little bit this year. Got thrown up on. No, that's no. I mean, the Sookie thing's still out there somewhere, floating in the ether. That's still a possibility, I guess. I love working with Anna. I think the dynamic between Sookie and Alcide is really fun. You know, she's this little thing that just kind of drags him off into adventures, and I also think it'd be interesting to see them reunite after, you know, this packmaster, murderous kind of, you know, that killer kind of comes out in him, because I think that changes somebody's DNA when you start doing that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing. And then of course, you know, the thing with Ricky, which is interesting, but of course, you know, when you say, I want you to be my girlfriend, and someone says, maybe, it's a bit like saying, I love you, and them going, great. Not exactly what you want to hear. So, you know, but I think she does care about Alcide. I think she has the potential to be a good she-wolf girlfriend. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. You know, he's got options. Plus, you know, I don't know. I would think Packmasters, they probably do pretty well in that department, I would imagine. I think. In the books, they certainly do pretty well. I mean, they win Packmaster in the books, and then they bring the she-wolf out, and you're supposed to do it with her right there to, like, procreate and keep the race going. So I guess they cut that one out, but we did it beforehand.
We're just about out of time. Speaking of the books, Charlene Harris is getting ready to wrap up the series. Are you going to plan to read the last of the books?
I stopped reading the books early on only because our show just had took such a different direction, and I was, sort of looking to the writers of our show to be the authority on these characters that we're playing. But I think it would be kind of fun to go back and read them after it's all over, and instead of using them as some kind of blueprint for what we do now. I mean, I think they're terrific, and she's, a wonderful writer, but I stopped after like the third one.
Yeah, I read like the first 4, and then they are so wildly different, and I think there's 12 of them. 13. 13. The last one is 13. Wow. Yeah, so I don't know if we'll get to 13. Maybe.
I read 7.
Wow.
Only because I couldn't stop. I mean, they're addictive.
I read 3 before my audition. I didn't want to read 1 and 2 because 2 was still on TV and I didn't want to ruin season 2. So I just picked up with 3, read that before my audition, and then I would miss everybody every summer. So I would read, I read book 4 before season 4, and I was like, oh, there they all are. And then before season 5, I read 5, and I was like, oh, Packmaster competition. Wait, this is like Animal Planet with like dogs jumping through hoops and stuff. And I was like, okay. And then I got to the tiger and the genie pants, and I was like, all right. And then here we are.
We are out of time, but thank you all for coming out. Dragon.